Welcome back to the OCAD Youth Sports Report. My name is Avishai Sol. I am your host, and we're going to start off this week with a segment about balls, particularly my balls. And this ball, this has been my ball since we started the show. But, and it's fine. It's nothing to speak of, really. It's modest, but serviceable. Although I think we can do better, honestly. It's like there have been ongoing issues. It's a little squishier than I'd like. There are like weird discolorations. It's kind of small. I don't know. I think we can do better. So this week I went out and I bought some new balls, which means we don't need this one anymore because now we have this one, which. Isn't it just beautiful? It's sleek, it's shiny, it's the feel of it. I love the way it feels in my hands. It's got this nice texture, and the smell, the new balls smell. It's really doing something for me. So for this week, I'm just gonna put that right there. And I mean, I'm happy about it, and I hope you guys all are too. It's better. We got a lot to talk about in the world of sports today. Let's start the show. In the world of soccer, the Euro Premier League is enjoying the most tightly contested title race they've had in years. It's a three-team slugfest between Chelsea, Liverpool, and Man City, and the fans have been on the edge of their seats game after game after game. Soccer fans haven't been this into a regular season matchup in a long while. It's not every day that three teams can have like a legit chance to win it all. It's even drawing some interest from American fans who lately have been spending upwards of 15 minutes watching these matches before feeling appropriately cultured and changing the channel. In the world of baseball, the Atlanta Braves defeat the Houston Astros in the World Series. Hooray for the Braves, they won. And it's been a while. The Braves last won the World Series in 1995, which is 26 years ago. It's been a little while, but the victory lap was a little tainted by outfielder Adam Duvall declining his mutual option to stay with the team. This could just be, team finagling and trying to get as much money for himself as possible, which is fine, but you got to say, coming off a World Series win and then going right into declining your option, that's brave. Get it? Because it's the Braves. Haha. In basketball news, the Cleveland Cavaliers have had a little bit of a COVID scare with their former All-Star Kevin Love. Sidelined with health and safety precautions, which sucked because it tanked my fantasy team. He's on my fantasy team this week. But it's probably nothing to worry about. It's maybe it's just Cleveland being Cleveland. But we're not going to talk about Cleveland too much because we're not in Cleveland. We're in the great city of Toronto, which means we got to talk about the Toronto Raptors, who have been exceeding expectations thus far. The Raptors have adopted this really fun philosophy on the court called run and fun. It's a bit like run and gun, except they don't have the shooters to gun, so it's just run and fun. The identity is predicated around size, length, and speed, passing ability. The Raptors currently can put out a lineup of everybody, of a guys like 6'7" or taller. They could just have a jumbo lineup of guys like that, and it's really hard to score against for other teams. They currently have the fourth ranked defense in the league. But more than that has been the emergence of rookie sensation Scotty Barnes. We took Barnes 4th overall in this past draft a couple months ago, which was high. Barnes was projected to go sort of in the 5 to 7 range on most mock boards, but Raptors GM Masai Ujiri liked what he saw with him and took him 4th, and it has paid off immensely. Barnes is currently leading all rookies in scoring and rebounds and the race for Rookie of the Year, which hasn't happened to a Toronto Raptor in I don't know how long. He's been awesome. He's fun to watch. He's a highlight machine. He's got a big smile on. He plays the game with passion and fire. It's just great to watch. But we have a bit of a crossroads coming up with Scotty Barnes in a little while, namely the return of Raptors All-Star Pascal Siakam. Siakam is the most decorated player on the team. You might recognize his name from the 2019 title run in which he played power forward. And he is that good. Siakam is probably the best player on our team. He's been sidelined with an injury for a while, nothing serious, but he's returning soon. He's been cleared for full court contact, and he's been moved to the Raptors minor league team, the 905, just to warm himself back up. Why this is a bit of a conflict is because Siakam and Barnes play the same position. They are both power forwards. So how is this going to work when they return? Do you move Barnes to the bench to make room for Siakam? This is what we thought we were going to do entering the season when Siakam came back, but Barnes has been so good it'd be almost a shame to move him to the bench. He's our future, and he has been good enough to stay. Do we move Siakam to the bench? We can't do that. He's our best player. So here's what we do. We play them both at once. We play Scotty Barnes at the 4, the power forward. We play Siakam at the 5, at the center. Now Siakam is a little small to play the center. He's 6'9", which I know is small, right? 6'9", but he's not like a big 6'9". He's like a more lean, a little quicker rather than stronger. He's not dummy thick, as they say. Siakam is small for a center, but within this philosophy the Raptors have adopted, the run and fun philosophy, it actually works perfect. Because it's focusing on speed and length rather than half court and bruising play inside. It'll allow us to play all of our best players out there in the starting lineup at once. And that's always a good idea. Siakam to the 5. I'm calling it right now. It's happening. In the world of football, New York Jets' historically bad offense brings down heat on their offensive coordinator, Mike LaFleur. For a minute there, the Jets were averaging a league-low 13.3 points a game. That's less than 2 touchdowns a game. That's not just bad. That's historically bad. Just so you understand what I mean by historically bad. Me dropping my ice cream on the ground is bad. But Chairman Mao starting a mass famine by exterminating China's sparrow population, that's historically bad. Let's see how best to describe this. Me picking up that ice cream off the ground and continuing to eat it is bad. But King Henry VIII having 2 of his 6 wives decapitated is historically bad. I really want to make sure you understand where I'm coming from here. Me finding that the dirt on the ice cream cone actually brought out more of the flavor, and now that I've developed a taste for it, I drop all my ice cream cones on the ground every time, is bad. But King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella of Spain enacting the Spanish Inquisition, that's historically bad. The Jets are historically bad. They've been a little better offensively. I think they've jumped up to 14.9 points a game, but still. Speaking of historically bad, there have been a few teams in sports that are historically bad. One of them is the Sacramento Kings, who have a 15-year playoff drought running. That's 15 years, not of playoff losses, not of championship losses, but they haven't even made the playoffs in 15 years. It doesn't even look like they're going to get any better. A number of years ago, they had the 2nd pick in the draft, the 2018 draft. The 1st pick went to the Suns. They took DeAndre Ayton. He's been good. The 2nd pick went to the Kings. They took Marvin Bagley out of Duke, who has not been good. Bagley has been injured a lot. He has never played a full season in the league, and while his stats look all right, he's terrible defensively, and the best ability is availability, and he hasn't been available. Why does this sting so much? Because with the 3rd pick in the draft, the Atlanta Hawks took Luka Doncic, who has made all-star teams, all-NBA teams, and is now currently the biggest frontrunner for league MVP. Why wouldn't the Kings just take Doncic? I don't know, but that's historically bad. Another team which has been historically bad is the Buffalo Sabres. The Sabres haven't won a playoff series in 14 years, but really more than that, it's been the off-ice soap opera between team management and star center Jack Eichel. Eichel is one of the top under 25-year-olds in the NHL today, but after suffering a herniated disc, Eichel requested a progressive surgery to fix the issue. Full stop. The Sabres organization had other plans, however. They thought it would be better to send Eichel through the more conservative rehab process, which wouldn't totally fix the disc, but would allow Eichel to return to the ice quicker. The disagreements quickly turned icy, pun intended, and Eichel has since requested a trade. The loss of a young star like that is a death sentence for a young team like the Sabres, which is just omen of bad things to come in Buffalo. Which leads us to this past week, where that trade actually went down. Jack Eichel was traded to the Las Vegas Golden Knights. The Knights received Jack Eichel and a pick. The Sabres received Alex Tuch, who's a powerful right winger who's had some trouble with injury, but in 2019 clocked out at 52 points in 74 games, so he's good. And Peyton Krebs, who's a 20-year-old forward. He's some promise, but he's currently playing in the minor leagues. And 2 picks. So, finally, Eichel got out, which is good for him. He's probably going to get that surgery. It's good for Vegas, but Buffalo had to accept that's really 50 cents on the dollar for a player like Eichel. It's not equal return, but it's the best they could do. Which leads us to our main segment for today's episode, which is trade culture and player movement. It's a fact across sports. There's been more player empowerment than there used to be, and players have been moving teams more than ever before. None of this has been more prevalent than in the NBA. We see a number of years ago, Anthony Davis was under contract with the New Orleans Pelicans for a number of years, but he made such a big stink and just asked out, requested a trade, which caused the team to basically they had no choice, right? They had no choice. They couldn't force him to play, so they had to cash out while they could, shopping him to LA. Same thing with the Houston Rockets and James Harden. James Harden got tired of his time in Houston, asked out, showed up to camp out of shape, didn't want to play, and rather than just watch Harden tank his own trade value and get diminishing return as time went on, Houston sold as high as they could and traded him to the Brooklyn Nets. We see this player movement in soccer too. More player movement than ever. Teams swapping clubs, players swapping clubs, players swapping leagues. Going from public to private to overseas, just because they can and because it's better for them and for their brand and for their career. And it really... Now, this isn't necessarily a bad thing. Player movement is big news. It's exciting for the fans. They get new players. They get new people to root for. It's refreshing. It's also great for the players. They get to choose their destiny, their career. It's their lives. It's their career. They get to play where they want to play, and that's good. But there are two things where it gets a little less positive. One, this sort of player movement and player empowerment greatly favors big market teams. Teams that have the cities to attract superstars. Teams that have the money to attract superstars. For example, the New York Yankees have the highest team payroll in the MLB, clocking in at $231 million, compared to the Baltimore Orioles, whose team payroll is only $19 million. The Orioles just can't afford to go chasing superstars the way the Yankees can. Same with, it's worse. It's the worst in New York and LA, the big cities that attract stars like that. So that's one problem. And second, and this is really what tugs at my heart the most, you don't get the same team identity that you used to, usually. Back when players would play 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, maybe even 20 years with each other. It was like watching an old married couple that, they would Tim Duncan on the Spurs with Tony Parker. They've been playing together their whole lives. And they have this chemistry. And it's part of what's beautiful about team sports. They just know where each other are going to be. And they know how to play with each other so that it's almost like second nature. And you lose that when there's players swapping teams all the time. It's exciting, but you lose that feeling of unity. Which leads us to our final bit of the week, Athlete of the Week. This week's Athlete of the Week is my brother Jesse. Jesse spent most of the week on his bed. I bought him some cupcakes, which he ate most of. He then went outside and shot a basketball a couple times in the mud of our backyard. Jesse, a true superstar in the making. Keep at it, brother. This has been the OCAD Sports Report. My name is Avishai Sol, and I will see you all next week.